I started picking up more traction in my trades. I was able to buy a house. It's been a complete 180. Before Playbit, there was a lot of frustration. I didn't have any consistent plan. After Playbit, things started really changing. The community itself brings a lot of value. That's priceless. It's been really life-changing.
Hello, Peter. Thank you for joining me today to share your experience of working with Playbit. Could you briefly describe who you are and what you do?
Of course, thank you for having me, Ewan. It's been a pretty short journey, but it's been amazing. Since joining Playbit, I've learned so much in a short amount of time.
Amazing. So, outside of Playbit, like, who are you? What do you do? Do you do business? Are you a full-time trader?
So my name is Peter. I actually started trading 3 months ago, about three to 6 months ago, so a short amount of time. And I do AC currently. I actually work for an AC company. However, I'm planning on leaving pretty soon to start my own, and that's actually thanks to Playbit.
Perfect. So AC, air conditioning, are you going around doing installments? Like, are you in the office side of things? Are you out on the field kind of things?
So I'm actually a service technician. So I'm on the field side of things. I work on condensers, air handlers, mainly circuit boards, electronics, that kind of stuff.
Perfect. So I guess the ambition is to go from working at an AC firm, using the profits or the gains you've made from trading to then supplement your own AC business.
Exactly. And that's kind of what has been going on. So I've made quite a bit of profit since joining Playbit, and I'm using those profits to pay for my contractor's exam, to pay for my truck, to pay for my tools, and basically get everything I need to start my own AC company. So it's been pretty awesome.
That's amazing, man. That's exactly what we aim to do. And obviously to hear that obviously just fills me with joy. So obviously you mentioned you were trading for 3 to 6 months before. How long of that time were you trading as an individual by yourself? And how long have you actually been trading with Playbit, if that makes sense?
So I would say as an individual, about 4 months on the higher end. And by myself, it was just, I couldn't figure it out. So I gave up and then started back up and gave up and started back up. And then with Playbit, I've probably been trading about 2 to 3 months. I started in October and we're in February right now. So a couple months. It's been a complete 180 in my trading career and in my investments as well.
Perfect. So with that, could you share a little bit about what one trading was like, but what life growth development was like before Playbit? Yeah, I'm going to say trading. We're also going to say life as well, because obviously we aim to develop people as individuals rather than just make their chart time better. And then I guess life after Playbit in terms of trading, personal development and life as well.
So before Playbit, trading brings out your personality and a lot of emotions that you didn't even know you had. And so before Playbit, there was a lot of frustration, a lot of impatience, no discipline, and that kind of went hand to hand with life. I didn't really have the discipline to do a lot of things like go to the gym, eat right. And it was just kind of mainly because trying to learn financial investment and failing a couple times kind of killed my confidence. So, I lost my hope through that. And then after Playbit, things started really changing. And I started picking up more traction in my trades, started picking up discipline, started being more patient and not over trading, actually coming up with a structured plan. And through that structure, it leaked into my life. And now, I have discipline within my life, going to the gym, eating nutritious. It's been really life-changing.
That's amazing. That's a huge thing that we do preach, that, to be disciplined in the market, one must have a disciplined life. Like, if you can't wake up and get in the gym, or you can't control the food that goes into your mouth, how are you going to control the psychological process that comes with those candles going up and down or whatever, green and red? Like, how are you going to handle that if you can't even handle what's going on in your personal life? So I'm really glad to hear that. It's definitely spilled over, because that's a huge thing that we do preach. So yeah, what are some of the challenges, I guess, you've noticed that you had before, but obviously coming into Playbit, what are some of the main challenges, if you had a top three, that we were able to help you resolve in your trading?
Definitely consistency. That was a big challenge for me in the beginning. My trades were very sporadic in the beginning, so I didn't have any consistent plan. Now I do 2 trades a day and no more than 2 trades a day, as well as one session, as opposed to before I was trading multiple sessions, doing multiple trades and revenge trading. And so, that consistency, impatience, and lack of discipline were my 3 biggest challenges. And now it's actually quite the opposite. I build consistency, I have a lot of disciplines and a lot more patience as well. So those challenges through Playbit, that helped me overcome those challenges.
That's perfect. Yeah, that was going to lead to my next question. I was going to say, how have your process changed? And obviously, you just listed your 3 problems. And I guess the transition through the last few months in Playbit is those 3 problems have been resolved, right? So the overtrading's fixed by just trading trading the New York session. The over trading or kind of like sporadic trading is sorted by just having the two models, right? The ILM and the orb. Do you trade these two models, or do you trade anything else as well?
Those are the only two models I trade. That's just because I found the results really effective. Ty, Bitcoin Playboy, he emphasizes on a trading journal. That's actually very accurate because you're recording your data. It's important to know where you lack in your data. Those two models kind of the results showed that I gained the most using just those two models, as well as on certain days. Maybe Monday's not a good orb day, so Monday's more of an ILM day, and that data records it. It shows me, and it kind of helps me pick which model and what strategy to use during that time.
Exactly. And with that data, when to go half risk, when to go full risk. For the last 3 months, I know if Monday typically has been bad for me, then I'm definitely going to be half risking into the market, even if it's an A+ setup. So that's definitely a huge thing that we advocate. I mean, anyone who's in Playbit Premium knows that every single day, have you journaled your trades? It's kind of like detention, isn't it? If you haven't journaled your trades and you're failing, we don't want to hear it. It has to be done. So you've told me a little bit about who you were before, your current progress and everything like that. Could you tell me a little bit about what your biggest wins have been since being in Playbit? And that can be obviously trading, financial, or it can be in life.
So actually, my biggest wins in Playbit have also been financial with day trading and cryptocurrency. That's where I see the most results. That's where I see the most gain. And a financial aspect in life, it just helped me with my relationships as well as my business relationships, and also helped me take a step back and kind of see the bigger picture of things. It's helped quite a bit in those areas.
Yeah, because I remember the recent testimonial you did in the testimonials channels. I think the statement was, since joining Playbit and making more money, I'm able to buy a house, buy cars, take my friends on nice trips, etc. So was that the right words?
Oh yeah, exactly for that. I bought a motorcycle, a Yamaha R3, something small starting out, and then a Camry, and I'm purchasing these things, and I was able to buy a house. I'm able to take my friends on these kind of dining trips and vacations, and it's opened quite a bit of doors. So it's been an exciting journey. I mean, I never really thought that I'd have these opportunities. However, since joining Playbit, everything's just kind of stacked up in a positive direction.
Absolutely. And obviously, like you mentioned, you did AC work, but obviously with the whole thing about trading is being able to work from anywhere, anytime, and the earning capacity or the ceiling isn't capped, right? So, I don't know about your work, but I'm just talking about anyone's line of work. They go to work 9 to 5 and they get paid a salary, and there's not really any path to progression unless they're going to go through the corporate ladder and try and get a promotion. But I guess hearing everything that you've just said, is it kind of opened your eyes to, you can spend less time doing something that I guess is a high value skill and actually earn way more money, and that opens your eyes to a life of freedom and a life of abundance. Is that fair to say?
Right, exactly. Because when you trade, there's no cap on what you could do. It all comes down to the person that is trading, your personality and who you are, as opposed to working for somebody else. They may not have the best interests for you. So there's always a cap in a 9 to 5, whether it's your yearly income, maybe commission, it doesn't matter. It's always a cap because companies do like to cap you.
I was going to say the boss always wins, right? In the kind of 9 to 5 system, right?
Exactly.
The person who takes the risk. But yeah, I guess in trading, each individual trader is the one taking the risk. So you win all the reward, and yes, you eat the potential risk as well. Not everyone has a great success story yet. And I find when lots of people come to us first in Playbit, they also don't have a success story. And then obviously speaking to the likes of yourself and a few of the others, it's amazing to kind of get that perspective shift where trading is once something that is frustrating and a burden to life because you're trying to figure out the psychology, you're trying to figure out your strategies, you're trying to figure out the risk management. All of a sudden hey, I'm buying a house and buying a new motorcycle and can take my friends for dinner. I can quit my job and start my own business. That's super inspiring. And don't get me wrong, the way you're describing it sounds easy, but I'm sure that it hasn't been an easy path. And it is a struggle to get to where you are now, right?
Oh, it was a complete struggle. Lots of frustration, lots of emotional turmoil. So it's never easy. It's a bumpy road, although it does get better. You just got to put in the work.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we preach. And the right mentors or coaches can significantly shorten that learning curve because they've walked the path before you. Here's the model. Here's your journal. Here's your risk parameters. Do this with us daily for 1 to 2 to 3 months, and then you'll be set because you'll understand the procedure.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, the coaches, especially in Playbit, because they actually care about the members' education. And that's what stood out to me the most when I first joined Playbit, is how they emphasized, we're going to give you this education educational structure. This is all you, and you got to put in that work. But the mentors actually really do care. They'll take the time to answer your questions and make sure you're walking down a good path.
Perfect, man. Definitely fills me with joy to hear you say that, so thank you. So my next question is, I guess someone who's been well, you're a lifetime member now, a VIP lifetime member, that means you're going to be with us forever. But I guess when you first entered Playbit, can you describe the kind of time commitment that was required from you since you've been a Playbit member? As in, like, does it take up your whole day? Obviously, as a busy working man, does it just require a few hours? Obviously, someone listening to this might be like, I love the sound of trading, but I haven't got an extra 5 to 10 hours. So I'd love to hear your perspective and your experience as a full-time worker, how it's kind of looked for you.
For me, I only trade New York session open and cryptocurrencies. However, with Playbit, it didn't take that much of a time commitment just because being how I just day traded in the mornings, I only gave myself that hour. And with cryptocurrency, it's 24/7. So, you could trade at any time. However, even with the streams, if I was working during a stream, it was recorded. So I never really missed out on any educational content. Everything's really right there and recorded. And if, of course, you do have any questions or maybe you just missed out on something and you just need to find an answer, you could ask the community and they'll help you out.
Absolutely. Yeah, like not only do we have access to the coaches and mentors, but there's also a community of into the thousands, right? So you have a question, a coach or mentor isn't online, there's going to be someone who's been in there or extremely profitable or successful. For example, Jaden, he was just a Playbit community member. Now he's been upgraded, like promoted to a coach. But there's always someone to help your question or answer your question, no matter what time of the day it is, no matter what the question is. There's really no such question that's too stupid, because we understand that everyone comes at a different level and everyone kind of needs that milestone to milestone path to progression, rather than just like making that assumption that everyone knows what liquidity is or everyone knows what a fair value gap is. Like some people come, they don't know anything. And that's why I think the courses, the community, obviously the live daily sessions are the most valuable, because you can ask questions every day in real time. And that's just something that, you can't really replace with a recorded course or a book kind of thing.
Exactly. And that's huge. I mean, the community itself brings a lot of value because in the crypto chat, I ask a lot of questions over there and the community is just so helpful and ready to help you out. So it's a big, big difference in the community you join.
Perfect, man. So obviously I just mentioned that I think the live trading sessions are highly valuable, but I want to hear it from your perspective. Which area or what for you has bring in the most value in Playbit since you've been there, and why do you think that is?
So the most value that I've gained from Playbit is on the cryptocurrency and day trading side. I have tried stocks and options before. However, with cryptocurrency and day trading, that's where I see the most financial gain. So that's kind of where I have the most value in, although also the education in general, that's priceless.
Perfect. So obviously you mentioned the financial gain is the biggest benefit. That's what we all want, right? No one gets into trading thinking they just want a hobby, because it is torturous. So based on the financial gain, based on the results you've achieved so far in your short time inside Playbit, I know, like I said, you're a permanent member, so I 100% know you're going to be there in 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. But based on your results that you've achieved so far, where do you anticipate yourself and the results that you will achieve in the next 6 months and the next 12 months?
So what I foresee in my next 6 to 12 months, I want my trading career to be kind of more automatic, more smooth, have the more confidence to do things on my own when it is in regards to my trades. Also just keep and maintain that consistency, as well as use the profits to kind of grow my company on the AC side of things, as well as make other investments. We actually just had a Section 8 course pretty recently, and I'm looking into getting into real estate, and that seems perfect for me. And there's some good mentors there and with lots of good information. They actually gave a course on Section 8 pretty recently, and I'm looking into getting into real estate. And so that's kind of a perfect start for me, is just going into Section 8 housing, getting into that real estate development. And they have some really good mentors teaching that. So I'm excited to get into the real estate side of investing.
I think that's a perfect roadmap. I mean, as you probably heard in Playbit, as we always preach, you want to learn to become a great trader, and you want that skill set to be able to extract money from the market, the financial markets, right? But you want to invest that money not into cars and watches until like way down the line. You want to invest it into investment vehicles that are going to pay you passively, real estate, whatever it is, it may be the S&P, something with low risk and kind of high yield. Because at the end of the day, what we aim to do is actually to come off the screens eventually. We want to have less trading time, more passive income, or passive-ish income. There's no such thing as real like passive and free income. But I think that roadmap is really smart, because again, you get 5 to 6 units and it can pay you a full-time salary based on the rent that you're taking from the people occupying those units if you're going to go into the real estate market. And then all of a sudden life feels free. It feels chill, right? Because you essentially do nothing and you're still making $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, I don't know how it works in the States, but that's kind of how you can run it here.
Exactly. And that's the plan. passive income is the goal.
And do you feel like based on the results you've got so far that that's going to become an achievable goal?
Very achievable. I plan on investing in stocks too, dividend stocks. That way I could kind of create more passive income. With Playbit, it's definitely going to be achievable just because we got the right education and mentors that are actually going to make that happen.
Perfect, bro. So this leads me to my next question. Is there anything that surprised you about Playbit? Like, do you have any, or do you have any misconceptions? Obviously, like you came from someone who had no idea, came from a friend referral, I believe. And then it's like, okay, I'm not sure about who these guys are. There's so many like of these gurus online who are saying they can do this X, Y, Z, make me 100K in this amount of time. Is there anything that you had about that, like surprises or misconceptions?
In the beginning, I always have misconceptions. I'm a very skeptical person. I need to see results before actually taking a leap. And the past, I've tried different communities, different gurus, and it just never worked out just because of all the bad information. There was no actual guidance. And so when I first came into Playbit, I was very skeptical, and I'm just like, let me do the day trading, get a Top Step account, and give them a chance. And so as I was doing the live day trading, I started seeing the results. I started seeing gains. I started watching more streams, started getting more involved in the community. And I realized how much the mentors actually care about your financial education. What a great community it is where you help each other. And it's very supportive, as well as the education that Playbit actually gives to its members is very solid. It's 100% very good to actually boost your life to where you want it to be if you actually put it into your lifestyle.
I love that. That's amazing. That leads me perfectly into my last one or two questions. So I guess you kind of already answered it, but I just want to ask it in case you have anything else to say. So if someone's listening right now, hey, I've heard about Playbit, they sound really cool. Is there anything or any advice you would give to someone who's kind of sat on the fence? Are you likely to recommend Playbit to them? Why should someone listening right now kind of take action?
The best advice I could give you is if you actually want to make a positive change in your life, then Playbit is the community to where you need to be. I mean, the education, the actual community members, and mentors in the space are going to help you get there. And I know you may be skeptical at first. However, take that initial leap, take that risk, and you'll see it work out in your favor.
Absolutely. And just like in your case, the opportunity cost of not joining is so high, as in what life might look like now without trading. I'm not going to say without play, because obviously you might have got there on your own, but it might have taken 6 to 12 to maybe even longer in terms of months. But it shortened that learning curve for you. And imagine what life would look like now, like if you didn't have the prospect of doing your own business, if you didn't have the houses you bought, if you didn't have the motorcycle, you didn't have the financial means to take your friends on trips, right? So it's a small investment in oneself in terms of education and, kind of getting that guidance from people who have walked the path before them. And if they take it, amazing, they might have a great experience. And if not, then it's a very small investment. Like it's not like a super expensive product as well. So what I'm trying to say is the opportunity cost of not joining for someone like yourself, obviously everyone's experience of everything is different, but the opportunity cost for you would have been high.
Exactly. Instead of spending all that money on coffee, why not reinvest it in my education?
Exactly. So I think that answers pretty much everything. You've been a great guest. I just wanted to ask you finally, any final thoughts or anything you'd like to say to anyone who might be watching this just before we come to an end?
The only thing I could say, I want to thank the Playbit community. I want to thank the mentors. Everybody's been very helpful, and I'm excited to continue my journey with Playbit, and I'm excited to grow with y'all.
Perfect, Peter. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and having this chat with me. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Ewan. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, and you.